Hello and welcome to another pen video from me, Penultimate Dave. So I have here another 10 pens currently inked for this week. I think let's go through these briefly one by one. We'll go through them in a little bit more detail and then we'll do a writing sample. So from left to right we have the Taccia Miyabi's Winter's Breath. We have a Classic Pens LB5 in the Kaen. We have a Sailor King of Pen Sakura Nagar. We have a Pelican M800 Royal Gold Vardan. We have a Pelican M1000 Vardan Starlight. We have a Pelican M1000 Vardan Sunlight. We have a Visconti St Basil. We have a Visconti Chatterley Luxuries Southwest. We have a Visconti Homo Sapiens Blue Lagoon. And a Visconti Homo Sapiens Midnight in Florence. So let's take a look at these pens in a little bit more detail. So this is the Taccia Miyabi Winter's Breath, and it honestly, I saw another version of this pen a number of years before picking this one up, and one of my friends actually at my pen club decided to buy it, and it is a Winter's Breath, but it's not a Miyabi version. The original Winter's Breath was more of a square-shaped pen or rectangular. This is more of a cigar-shaped, and so it had flat ends. And I loved it to bits, and I wanted to buy it so much, and I kept deliberating, and then it sold out. And a couple of years on, I've been wanting one ever since, and I keep my eye open, and I saw this one here, and I decided to get it. And so this is made of crushed quail's eggs, and also abalone strips for Warden. And you can just see how this pen really sparkles. It is a beautiful pen, and I love this pen a lot. And maybe I might have to pick up the original one if I can find one for sale. This has a number 6 size Tatcha nib, and this is a broad nib on this one. But I do like it a lot, and yeah, if I wanted to, yes, I can post a cap, but I'm not going to. It's Raden, it's quail's eggs. Yes, it does have lacquer over it. The other thing I have noticed on some of the Tatchas with the quail's eggs is the section can stain. I think they actually decided to raise the quail's eggs a little bit higher, but still, I actually just syringe fill the converter just to make sure that my one doesn't stain. So I have that one inked up with an ink this week and writing with. The next one is, again, a real favourite of mine. This is a pen that I wanted so much and I could never get hold of. And if you wait long enough, you will find one. And I did. And this is the Classic Pens LB5 in the Kaen, or the Flame Red. This has diffusion bonded acrylic. What's diffusion bonded acrylic? Well, it's basically acrylic that is compressed and fused together at the molecular level, and it creates this beautiful sort of like pattern going on there. It's a stunning material. Parker also used this actually material on one or two pens. This is made by Sailor for Classic Pens, hence it has Sailor here. You'll see that it's Sailor, and then it says LB5 KN, and then this is 38 of 50. This is a King of Pen size pen, so this has a Sailor King of Pen nib, and this is the medium nib. So it writes a little bit more like a Western fine to medium, but I really do love how that pen writes. And I had the LM1, I still have that at the moment, and I had the LB5 in the Kaoseki, which is a brown. But I always wanted the LB5 in the red, and now I have it, so I'm really glad of that. The next pen here is the Sailor King of Pen, and this is the Sakura Nagar, and this is a beautiful Vardan Marquis pen. So you have gold dust here, and then you have these Vardan petals, and these are Sakura petals. And the idea is that this is supposed to be flowing down the river. But this is a beautiful, beautiful Maki Vardan pen. It is a Sailor King pen, so it's a large pen, and it has a Sailor King pen nib. This one, I got a broad nib on this one, because a few years ago, I wasn't liking the medium nibs from Sailor. I'm actually okay with them now, but I wanted a broad nib on this one, so I did get a broad nib. So I have that one inked up this week with me as well. The next pen is a Pelican M800, and this is the Royal Gold Warden, and you can probably see there the artist's signature. This is abalone strips, gold Raden or gold abalone. It is beautiful. It's an M800 or M805 as well, size pen. This is an M800. So it has the M800 number 6 size gold nib there. It's an 18 karat gold nib. I got this in a broad nib. Again, I like this pen. I can post the cap if I want to. I'm not really a cap poster. I post very few pens of mine or caps of mine. But this is a beautiful pen, and I love writing with it. I do find, though, that typically people ask me all the time, and they seem to get this wrong. They think Pelikan M1000 nib is a stiff nib, and an M800 is a bouncy nib, and it's actually the other way around. M800 I find are always stiff nibs. They feel almost like steel nibs when you write with them, whereas the M1000 nib is actually very, very bouncy. So the next pen here is a Pelican M1000, and this is the Vardan Starlight. And you can just see the beauty in this. So again, you've got abalone strips of Vardan. You've got this gold dust Maki going on there. This is number 268 of 333. So only 333 of these were made, but that material is really, really beautiful. This has a Pelikan M1000 medium nib. It's an 18 karat gold nib. These are number 8 size nibs, not number 6 like in the M800. But again, like, these are very comfortable in my hand. I can get on well with the M800. It's a little bit, maybe slightly shorter than I am used to, but I like it a lot. But the M1000s I find are actually the right size, although these nibs are massive, these number 8 size nibs. You can post the cap as well. I don't, because it's Raden and Maki. It is protected via lacquer, but at some point that lacquer might wear off if you keep posting the cap. So for me, I don't post the caps on those pens. The next pen is another Pelikan M1000, and this is the Vardan Sunlight. And again, this is a beautiful Vardan pen. There's no gold dust on this one. It's just the Vardan abalone stripes there. And they're a little bit narrower as well, but you can also see the artist's signature there. But these are really, really beautiful pens. So again, this is an M1000. You've got the Pelikan logo. It has the M1000 number 8 size 18 karat gold nib. This is a medium nib. But again, I do like the size of these in my hand. I do find that these are actually quite nice. So for me, that is a really, really good writer. So, and again, if I wanted to, I can post those caps. I typically don't know, but you can if you want to. So the next pen here is the Visconti St Basil. I did have this inked up last week as well. This is a beautiful pen. It's made of celluloid. It's got lovely blue, red and black, and a little bit of purple here and there. It's beautiful celluloid. It has this inlaid St Basil inscription there of the palace, and also an inscription there as well. It comes with a red ruby, so you can see that ruby sparkle. And it has a Visconti number 6 size, and this is a 23 karat palladium nibs. It's a medium nib. It's a double reservoir. It's a power vac filler. what is there not to like about it? For me, that ticks all of the boxes, and I like that a lot. So for me, that is good. You can't post a cap. They're not. This wasn't designed to be posted, and I find that even though it's quite a fat marker of a pen, it's quite girthy. I do find I like this pen a lot. So for me, this is a pen that I love writing with, and it writes very nicely, the nib as well. The next pen is made of the same material. It's a Visconti. It's the Chatterley Luxuries exclusive, and it's the Southwest. And this is made of the same celluloid material as the St Basil, but also as the Speakeasy as well from Visconti. I love these gold trims on this. This was an exclusive for Brian at Chatterley Luxuries. You also have a Southwest City skyline engraved there, and this comes with a number 6 size Visconti. This is one of the newer in-house 18 karat gold nibs. It's a medium nib, but I like it. I have to say I was probably quietly concerned about Visconti moving away from the 23 karat palladium nibs, but I'd have to say that most of the 18 karat gold new nibs I've tried have written quite nice. Maybe not quite as flexible as some of the 23 karat palladium nibs, but still they do have a little bit of a bounce to them. Now, I said not all of the nibs I like, and I'd say that this is probably one of the ones that I don't dislike it, but I don't like it as much. This is a Visconti Homo Sapiens Blue Lagoon, and it is a Homo Sapiens. It's got this lovely blue aqua-like colours, turquoise and that. But this does have the newer 18 karat gold nib, and it writes very dry. You can see there is no gap at all between those tines. And I have actually flossed this to hell and back, because I have actually flossed this a lot. It does write a lot wetter than it did. It has a little bit of flex to the nib, not a lot, or a little bit of bounce. But I do find that this writes drier and not quite as nice as some of my other Visconti nibs. And I think I will probably go to town on this nib a little bit more and make it write more wetter. Because that will probably make me want to write with it a lot more as well, and then change my opinion of that writing experience. And then the last pen I have inked up here this week is the Visconti Homo Sapiens Midnight in Florence. Now, this and the Blue Lagoon I had inked up last week, I believe. These are beautiful pens. I find the Homo Sapiens the right size. I really do like the size in my hand. I like the weight of the pen. This has the older 23 karat palladium nib. It's a medium nib. But I just find that the size of these in my hand are just perfect. The weight balance as well. It just really is nice. It has the quarter of a turn hook safe lock mechanism. It has a double reservoir. It's a power vac filler. And I just like all of those features on the pen. And I have to say that since my early days with the Visconti Homo Sapiens London Fog and the Florentine Hills, I have been a little bit spoilt for choice in that respect, because I do now like those features so much. It's a little bit like maybe when you're buying a car, you buy a car and you get some features in the car and you like them, and then when you go and buy a new car, suddenly those features are no longer available, and you just think, why? Like, why couldn't they have kept that feature? Because that was a really good feature. But a lot of it is changed, and a lot of us don't like change. But Visconti are still doing power vacs. They're still doing the hook safe lock on some pens. They're still doing double reservoirs on some, but not clearly on all pens like this, because it's a single reservoir. But there you have it. So that's my 10 pens currently inked for this week. I think now let's go and do a writing sample. So the first pen here is the Tatcha Miyabi Winter's Breath. So we'll do an ink swatch. Now, I do find, for the most part, sailor nibs to be quite dry as well, which is quite strange actually, because sailor comes from Japan, and most Japanese paper is actually very fountain pen friendly. So you could have it very super wet and not have any issue with bleed through, like Tomoe River, for instance, or Midori MD paper. But strangely enough, Sailor don't have very wet nibs. They are more, I would say, dry nibs, dry writing, medium to dry. So this is the Taccha Miyabi Winter's Breath, and it is a broad, and it's the 18 karat gold nib. But this nib, although it's Tatcha and Tatcha pen and it's Tatcha branded, it is actually made by Sailor. Now the ink in here is Pelikan, Edelstein, Topaz, which is a lovely sort of cerulean blue turquoisey colour ink. The next pen inked up is the Classic Pens LB5 in the Kaen. So let's do an ink swatch. Now this pen is getting a little bit low. I'm going to probably, I don't know, I was going to say refill it, but maybe I should just clean it out, put it back into storage, and then write with something else, ink something else up. So this is the Classic Pens LB5, and it's the Kaen. It's a medium. Now, this, because it's an LB5, the nib is made by Sailor. The whole pen, essentially, is made by Sailor. But this is a 21 karat gold nib, which you don't normally see much. I think Sailor are the only 21 karat gold nib manufacturers. And then the ink in here is Mont Blanc Corn Poppy Red, which I still have 5 bottles of. As much as I write with Mont Blanc Corn Poppy Red, I'm not getting through the ink. I probably didn't need 5 bottles, but hey, what can you do when you like an ink and it's gone out of production? You have to buy it. The next pen is the Sailor King of Pen, and this is a Sakura Nagar. So we'll do an ink swatch. And this is really why I think I went for a little bit more for the broader nib on this pen. It's because I do find it writes a little bit wetter. So this is the Sailor, and it's the King of Pen, Sakura Nagar, and it is a broad, and it's a 21 karat gold nib. And then the ink in here is KWZ Grapefruit, which is a very lovely sort of, I'd say it's more of an orangey colour ink than a grapefruit coloured ink, but it's an ink that I like a lot. The next pen is a Pelican M800 Royal Gold Warden. So we'll do an ink swatch. And this is a broad nib. Now, this is the Pelican M800 Royal Gold Warden. It's a broad 18 karat gold nib. And then the ink in here is Pilot, Eroshizuku, and it is Inner Ho. And a number of years ago, I went on a gold ink buying sort of journey, and I bought a number of different gold coloured inks. I wanted something that was a little bit like Diamond Shimmertastic Golden Sands. Couldn't really find anything without the shimmer. And I was looking for other gold inks, and this was the one that I eventually fell on that said to me, this is as gold as you're going to get without any shimmer. The next pen is a Pelikan M1000, and this is the Vardan Starlight. So we'll do an ink swatch. Now, this is a somewhat newer ink. I think I got it in September, I think. And this is a Pelikan M1000 Warden, and it's Starlight. And it is a medium 18 cat gold nib. And then the ink in here is diamine, and this is Honeyburst, which is part of the Gibson Les Paul guitar ink set of inks. The next pen is a Pelikan M1000 Vardan Sunlight, and we'll do an ink swatch. Now, I do find this ink a little bit on the dry side, a little bit like the honey, even though these are diamine inks. So this is the Pelikan M1000 Vardan, and it's the Sunlight. And it's, again, another medium 18 cat gold nib. And the ink in here, again, is part of the guitar series. It's diamine, and it's Cherry Burst. I think actually it may be Cherry Sunburst, but I'll put Cherry Burst. But that, for me, is a nice coloured ink. The next pen is the Visconti St Basil. So we'll do an ink swatch. Now you can immediately see this is a much wetter writing nib. And this typically is the kind of wetness that I like to write with. So this is the Visconti St Basil, and it is a medium 23 cat palladium nib. And then the ink in here is Mont Blanc, Corn Poppy, Red, which is a very beautiful red ink. The next pen is the Visconti Chatterley Luxuries exclusive, and this is the Southwest. So we'll do an ink swatch. And again, this is another wet writing nib. Maybe not quite as wet as the St Basil. So this is the Visconti, and it's the Chatterley Luxuries exclusive, and it's the Southwest. And it's a medium, it's a newer 18 cat gold nib. And the ink in here again is Mont Blanc, Corn Poppy, Red. And you might see a slight difference in once this ink dries between the two pens because of the difference in not necessarily the nib width, but how wet they write. The next pen is the Visconti Homo Sapiens Blue Lagoon. So we'll do an ink swatch. Now, I do find this a little bit more of a dry writing nib, but I also have to say that the ink in here is also a dry writing ink. So if you add a dry writing pen to a dry writing ink, you're going to get a very dry writing pen. So this is the Visconti Homo Sapiens Blue Lagoon. And it's a medium. It's, again, the newer 18 karat in-house gold nib from Visconti. And then the ink in here is Diamine Aqua Lagoon, which for me is a very nice sort of turquoisey, greeny, on the side of green coloured ink. It's an ink that I do like writing with a lot. And then the final pen is the Visconti Homo Sapiens, and this is the Midnight in Florence. So we'll do an ink swatch. Now, this typically is a wet writing pen, and it's not as wet as some Viscontis I have, but it's still pretty wet. So this is the Visconti Homo Sapiens, and it's Midnight in Florence, and it is a medium 23 karat palladium nib, and then the ink in here is KWZ Gummy Berry, which I'd say is probably my number 2 favourite purple colour ink. So I think let's take a look at these pens inked up one more time. So we have a Taccia Miyabi Winter's Breath in a broad 18 karat gold nib, inked up with Pelican Edelstein Topaz. We have a Classic Pens LB5 in the Kaen in a medium 21 karat gold nib, inked up with Mont Blanc Corn Poppy Red. We have a Sailor King of Pen Sakura Nagar in a broad 21 karat gold nib, inked up with KWZ Grapefruit. We have a Pelican M800 Royal Gold Vardan in a broad 18 karat gold nib, inked up with Pilot Owashizuku in a Ho. We have a Pelican M1000 Vardan Starlight in a medium 18 karat gold nib, inked up with Diamine Honeyburst. We have a Pelican M1000 Vardan Sunlight in a medium 18 karat gold nib, inked up with Diamine Cherry Burst. We have a Visconti St Basil in a medium 23 karat palladium nib, inked up with Mont Blanc Corn Poppy Red. We have a Visconti Chatterley Luxuries Southwest in a medium 18 karat gold nib, inked up with Mont Blanc Corn Poppy Red again. And you'll see there's a slight difference here in the two colours. This is a little bit more of a darker burgundy, and this is a little bit more of a brighter red. We then have a Visconti Homo Sapiens Blue Lagoon in a medium 18 karat gold nib, inked up with Diamine Aqua Lagoon. And then we have a Visconti Homo Sapiens Midnight in Florence in a medium 23 karat palladium nib, inked up with KWZ Gummy Berry. So there you have it. That's my currently ink pens for this week. Thanks for watching. Please like, comment and subscribe, and I'll see you on the next pen video. Bye bye.